I bring forth my argument that affirms the resolution. Resolved, the United States federal government should forgive all federal student loan debt. We contend that this proposal is viable, beneficial, and fair for our country. At the end of 2022, the Federal Reserve reported that roughly 43.5 million Americans have student loan debt. Many of these Americans are having trouble paying this debt off. An example of this is Stephanie Snyder, a 44-year-old who graduated in 2005 with a bachelor's in public administration. She was enslaved by her $38,000 in debt, forcing her to work 3 jobs. In one of these jobs, she was injured, making her unable to work. This was just a leap into the endless pit of student loan debt, a pit holding millions of Americans. I will be presenting 3 contentions that support our argument. Contention 1. Forgiving student loan debt would benefit the economy. This would provide financial relief to many individuals who are burdened by this debt, which can hinder their ability to achieve financial stability. Lee 23 states that as of June 2023, there were about 45 million student loan borrowers in the U.S., owing a total of $1.7 trillion in federal student loan debt. The average monthly payment for these borrowers was $393, which amounts to nearly $5,000 per year. For many borrowers, especially those who are low income, unemployed, or underemployed, this is a significant portion of their income that could be used for other essential expenses or investments. Forgiving all federal student loan debt would provide immediate relief to these borrowers, freeing them from the burden of monthly loan repayments and allowing them to allocate their income towards other priorities. Additionally, forgiving student loan debt would stimulate the economy by increasing consumption and economic growth. The idea is that by freeing borrowers from the burden of loan repayments, they would have more disposable income to spend on goods and services, thereby boosting demand and creating jobs. Hansen 23 states that canceling student loan debt may add $109 billion on average to the annual GDP for the next 6 years and may add up to 1.5 million new jobs. Moreover, canceling student loan debt may lift up to 5.2 million American households out of poverty and increase consumer spending by as much as 3.3%. These are significant benefits that would outweigh the costs of debt forgiveness. Forgiving student loan debt would encourage former borrowers to start families, buy new homes, create small businesses, obtain an advanced degree, or pursue other life goals that may have been delayed or deterred by their debt. Hansen 23 also reports that 75% of students indicated that their student debt impacted their ability or decision to purchase a home, and that prospective entrepreneurs are 11% less likely to start a new business if they owe more than $30,000 in student loan debt. Furthermore, when student debt grows by 3.3%, the number of new started businesses in the country shrinks by 14.4%. These statistics show how student loan debt can stifle innovation and entrepreneurship, as well as limit personal choices and opportunities for millions of Americans. Contention 2. Physical well-being. Firstly, student loan debt is a major source of stress and anxiety for millions of Americans. According to a study by Equifax, people with debt are more likely to face common mental health issues, such as prolonged stress, depression, and anxiety. This is especially true if the stigma of debt is keeping you from asking for help. Increased stress could decrease the quality of your sleep, which can in turn negatively affect your physical health and impair your ability to concentrate throughout the day. In terms of physical health, student loan debt can prevent people from accessing the healthcare they need. According to a study by Cooperberg, Williams, and Mazzelis, published in the Journal of American College Health, respondents with loans were less likely to visit the dentist and more likely to report delaying medical, dental, and mental health care, and reducing medication used to save money. Moreover, loan presence was related to significantly worse self-rated physical and mental health and more major medical problems. Contention 3. Societal welfare. One of the major challenges that our society faces today is the problem of student loan debt and how it affects social mobility. Many people who borrow money to pay for their education find themselves trapped in a cycle of debt that prevents them from pursuing better careers or investing in their future. This is especially true for those who come from low-income backgrounds or marginalized communities who face greater barriers to economic opportunities and face systemic inequalities. We need to provide relief to these people and help them achieve their full potential. By forgiving student loan debt, we can enable them to pursue careers that match their skills and interests, buy homes, and start businesses, therefore contributing to the economy and society. This would also help reduce the racial and gender gaps that exist in our society, which often affect those who face discrimination and harassment. There is evidence that forgiving student loan debt leads to better jobs, stronger consumers, and more social justice. For example, according to a study by the Harvard Business School, people with a lot of student debt are more likely to accept any job rather than waiting for a job that has a better fit for their skills. Once they have their loans forgiven, they're able to get their acts together financially. Another example of this is a chart by the Legal Defense Fund, which shows that Black parents and parents with low incomes are more likely to borrow federal loans for their children's education than white parents and parents with higher incomes. This contributes to the racial wealth gap and intergenerational inequality. It is a duty of the United States a nation of liberty and freedom to free its citizens from the overruling monster of today's society, student loan debt. Granting citizens financial freedom is the first step towards achieving a truly free nation. It is for these reasons that I urge you to vote for affirmative action in this case. I bring forth my argument that negates the resolution. Resolved, the United States federal government should forgive all federal student loan debt. We contend that this proposal is not viable, beneficial, or fair for our country. In a nation with overwhelming existing debt, forgiving student loan debt is a dream, but nothing more than that. I will be presenting 3 contentions that support our argument. Contention 1, the forgiveness of student loan debt would take a negative toll on the nation's economy. We need to ask ourselves how we can afford this massive project. The advocates of student loan forgiveness often lack a clear and realistic plan for paying for this initiative. Hardy 22 states that wiping out $1.6 trillion worth of federal student loan debt would increase the inflation rate by 10 to 50 basis points, or 0.1 to 0.5 percentage points over 12 months when compared to resuming payments over the same period of time. We have to realize that this proposal will require a huge amount of taxpayer money. This raises the important question of how we can finance this proposal without putting too much pressure on the American taxpayer. Moreover, there is a serious risk of devaluing our currency if we rely on printing money to fund student loan forgiveness. History has taught us again and again that this practice can lead to a devaluation of currency with negative consequences for our economy and the financial security of our nation. Secondly, we need to examine the impact on taxes. While forgiveness of student loans may help some people, it is important to acknowledge that this help comes at a very high price. According to the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, the proposed plan to cancel student debt could have a price tag of $330 billion to $390 billion. This means that every taxpayer would have to pay around $2,000 more in taxes every single year. This proposal raises several economic and social concerns. It would impose an extra tax burden on people who are already struggling with inflation and housing costs, mainly to benefit those who earn higher incomes. This could worsen the existing economic inequalities in our society. Contention 2. The forgiveness of student loan debt would create political complications. It would ignore the root cause of the student debt crisis, which is the government interference in the education sector. The government has been subsidizing student loans for decades, which has led to a massive increase in public funding for higher education. However, this has not made college more affordable. In fact, on the contrary, it has driven up the tuition costs. In 1964, the average tuition fee at a public university was only $248 in today's dollars. By 2007, it had jumped to $8,055. This shows that the government's involvement has created the problem rather than solving it. Contention 3, the forgiveness of student debt would create new social issues and fuel existing ones. It would have a negative effect on the work ethic and job market of our society. It would send a message that people do not have to take responsibility for their choices and actions. It would also distort the supply and demand of labor, as more people would pursue degrees that may not match the needs of the economy. The Aspen Institute's 2020 report suggested several changes to make public college more affordable, help low-income students pay for their education, as well as encouraging employers to contribute to tuition costs. These changes aim to find a middle ground between supporting students and making sure they value their education. A one-size-fits-all blanket policy might unintentionally devalue hard work and discourage people from making smart financial choices about their education, which is not what this nation needs at the moment. Additionally, it ignores the root cause of systemic racism in our education system. Romer 21 states, to ignore wealth disparities in the search for solutions to the student debt crisis is to turn a blind eye to the systemic racism that created the crisis itself. This negligence of the existing racism and ignoring of the root cause of the problem can and will cause further inequality in today's society. We understand the seriousness of the student loan debt problem, but we don't think that a blanket forgiveness policy is the best answer. Instead, we recommend a thorough review and reform of the loan system itself. The FAIR Act is a sensible, focused alternative that tries to protect both borrowers and taxpayers while making the repayment process easier and providing relief to those who need it most. Let's look for solutions that not only deal with the current issues, but also create a more stable and fair future for all Americans. It is for these reasons that I urge you to vote negative in this case. All right, is that good?
Yeah, great job.
Thanks.
Okay.